This video is going to be about the major prints or patterns that are going to be popular this fall winter, and that is the year 2025-2026. If you click off now, you won't find out which patterns to wear, but if you do stay, you'll be able to wear and match patterns like a pro. Hello and welcome to Design or Design. My name is Maria and this channel is all about fashion, all about trends, all about runway analysis. Today we're going to be covering the patterns, the prints of the upcoming season, and let's just get in with the first one, and that's the polka dot. I've seen polka dot mentioned in several of the reports, and it's a classic print. When picking out the size of the polka dot, think about your body, think about your features. If you have more plumper, larger features like large eyes, big lips, then a medium to a larger polka dot would suit you well. Also, if you're bigger in size yourself, then a bigger polka dot would work. While on the other side, if you are more petite, if you're smaller, skinnier, then the smaller print will do just fine. And of course, some of the polka dots look better on a certain kind of garment. Like for instance, the tiny little polka dots would be great for more of a feminine dress that is really 60s and 50s inspired. We also see the pattern being not perfect polka dots. Maybe they're a little bit elongated or they're a little bit of a different shape. Like here we see this pattern being laid on top of each other. It wasn't a perfect polka dot, it was chaotic polka dots on the runways. We also seen a mixture of polka dots in a single garment, or here it might be little designs such as lip prints or little teddy bears or skulls. It doesn't really matter. Some prints were a little bit of little squares and they were featured in many different colors, but I think the black and white is the most classical, so it would last you a much longer time. Tory Burch had a sweater with larger polka dots. We have Ula Johnson here with a metallic, and there were several ties that featured this print. Next one up is the graphics. When I talk about the graphics, it might be lettering like here in MSGM. It could be a graphic tee, which we've seen a lot in different videos like Valentino. Coach has several of these. We also seen it in Stella McCartney and other shows. So basically get that shirt out of your closet, start wearing it, because I feel like they're getting a momentum, and I've discussed it in the previous season's prints as well, that this graphics are coming back. It could be even your favorite sports jersey. It could be funny saying, it could be a band t-shirt, it could be your college sweatshirt, anything goes. And how you style it will make it a little bit more personal, a little bit more fun. We also see in Vaquera more of the graphics, like images, like here in Off-White as well, just printed on certain garments, or details on the pockets, or the lettering on bomber jackets, or even coats like here in this example. Louis Vuitton had more of the 80s graphics, but they were toned down. They weren't as loud in color. They were like made up of blues and blacks or grays and burgundies.
This graphic tee trend gives the opportunity for brands to create products that are cheap to make and easy to sell, a clear sign of economic decline.
Somebody requested a sweater thing, so here is a dedicated slot to you. We've seen a lot of sweaters with the really original prints on them, maybe a little bit of an ethnic print, but we also see the diamond shape, an argyle print on there, something very preppy, a little bit more of an elite equestrian feel to it. We've also seen some of the more organic or fluid imagery, like in Burberry and Etro, of more of a folk story, maybe even some paisley print in there. We also seen Diesel using the sweater as a print. You can see here their t-shirts, but it feels like they used a sweater, put some paint on it, and just made a print on top of that shirt. Pretty cool.
Sweaters are a great way to introduce a pattern into your wardrobe, and it feels like it's mandatory. I feel like if there's a sweater, it has to have some kind of a print, right?
Love it. Anyways, let's move on to the florals. Florals are always there. I don't think they'll be ever going out of style, but just take a look at the color combinations, how they were used, and move on from there. I particularly love the leather embossing of the floral motifs on several jackets. You'll be seeing them along the visuals here. I've also loved how the use of really flowy fabric on top of the regular trench coat. Of course, we've seen just a single flower or a bouquet, as well as the what would say a regular floral. Some were beaded, some were stitched on, and I feel like this is really good for fall winter, and the color combinations would determine if it's more appropriate. Paisley print is also considered as a floral as it is more organic in nature. It has the flowing of the greenery. I'm wearing one right now here and a little bit of a mix of the patterns. The Etro show was definitely the heaviest one of all in prints. If you love prints, make sure to check their full show, and I'm sure you'll have some inspiration. And these florals bring us back to the hottest trend at the moment, which is the boho trend. So we're usually seeing it in more loosely fitted outfits, but here in Etro you can see even suiting having that. If you're a boho lover and you need to go to the office, these suits would be perfect for you. They're work appropriate, but yet they still have this kind of a carefree, bright feeling to them that won't just erase your personality altogether. We've also seen some combination of the floral prints in a single garment, or having a full dress, maxi skirts, or even a dress over pants in this peplum pant situation here as well. Some of the prints were very light and didn't have a lot of contrast, and I feel like that is really great when you aren't really sure about the pattern too. If you're trying to step into it, just have something low contrast, maybe a pink flower on a white backdrop, or on the reverse of having winter florals with really dark flowers on it. So it will just give that little bit of an interest without being overpowering. I also love this gradient of the florals in the outerwear, really great.
This gradient really reminds me of the fabric soaking up all the dirt and the wetness from the ground and just making this garment so much more than it is.
Ferragamo had some palm leaves. Miu Miu had some designs that I can't really tell if it's floral or if it's more of like paint splatter. MSGM had a lot of the floral motifs for sure, and quite bright ones, either bouquets or more regular floral print that we're all used to it. Prada also had several dresses in that, and there were quite loose, quite misfitting, but that was the idea. All right, Louis Vuitton here once again carrying out that floral motifs. Here is the dark version that I was talking about. Doesn't really scream that much, but it's there. I love that velvety feeling as well. It creates such an interest, and that probably more expensive as this is a more labor intensive process of making this fabric, but it looks stunning. And as I said, the floral size depends on what I've been talking about in the polka dot section. Pick out the flower size depending on your features. If you're larger prints would work better. If you're smaller, then the smaller prints would work better. If you're medium, then medium-sized florals would work better. Some people are concerned of looking a little bit older in the florals, like a granny or something. Anything can be corrected with proper accessories. If you choose something that will take you further into that older territory, then try to wear something completely dramatic, completely different, maybe just some really modern silver accessories, for instance, maybe even a really spiky chain and some really chunky boots, and that will give the outfits completely different feeling, completely different vibe, and it won't age you. Trending accessories can save an outfit, let me tell you. All right, next one up is the Tapestry. It's not really far away from the florals. It still has these organic shapes, but they're usually very symmetrical, repetitive, and you're seeing them here. We see a lot of beautiful velvet suiting in this. We also see more of like almost a carpet print here. Sweaters in this as well. I really like this print, and it gives like this really classy feel versus just the floral. It just gives like status, it gives luxury, it gives history for me, something maybe vintage inspired or just vintage. Think about wallpaper in a castle. That is basically what we're seeing here. Several designs with many different fabrics. Tapestries can come in different manners. Here in Ulla Johnson, it's more of a woven something, while in Balmain it has more of that china feel. The blue on white. Here is a different interpretation of black and silver, and we see more of the architectural even elements of this feeling in several of the shows.
Something like architectural wood carvings and decorative moldings on the walls in the style of Rococo, with lots of emphasis on detail and craftsmanship. These patterns fit mostly for the boho, eclectic, and maximalist styles.
Next one up is animal print. We're not going away from that anywhere at all. We've seen several of them. Big highlight would be the cow print. Of course, we are still having the snake print. It's not going away anytime soon. It's been really big the previous season, and it's just continuing on its success right now. It could be in the skirts, it could be an outerwear, it can be a full entire outfit, it can be as small as an accessory like a purse, for instance, like here in Valentino. We also see a lot of leopard print. I know that leopard was a little bit overused previous few years, but I feel like it's a neutral. Honestly, most of the patterns that I'm talking about are neutrals because I feel like I'm repeating myself throughout videos about the trends, but take a look at how they were styled, what they were worn with. That will make that print a little fresher, a little bit more modern, and you'll be able to maybe even introduce a new life to your piece that you haven't worn in a while just because you feel like it's overworn by everybody. But here we go. That's the reason I love making these videos, because I have to analyze it. I put a lot of emphasis in looking at how everything is styled. Like in the bohemian styling here, we see lots of layering, lots of sheerness, lots of flowiness, and still an animal print, which is great. Stella McCartney had a little bit more official, more office-like, strong shoulder looks with this snake print. Valentino as well with the dresses. Ulla Johnson and Ganni had more of a tiger print or a zebra print, but it's orange, so I'm guessing it's tiger. Tory Burch had some spotting, not sure if it's an animal print or not, but there were several shows that had faces of animals on their dresses, and I felt that was pretty cool as well. Undercover had more of a floral slash butterfly themed to their prints, so I decided to put them in here just for fun of it.
I've also noticed a lot of furs and faux furs in that animalistic print as well, which is a really natural look for it.
Next one up is art or artistic prints. Here we have Roberta Cavalli with imagery of volcano, of the lava. I feel like that's still pretty much art, but what it's more appropriate for is maybe having garments with gradients of colors, as if somebody was doing a watercolor painting. We might see it being a little bit more abstract, not really understanding what it is. Like in Roberta Cavalli here, we have these gradients of colors as if there were silk paintings, a little bit more on the abstract again here with more frames and lines. Givenchy having almost animalistic prints, but I'm not sure what they are. Here we have in Chanel more of like ribbons going along. I feel like that's more artistic than stripes in my opinion. That's why they're here. We also see more of a messy prints like in D squared with the little splatches. We also see lots of hatching, which is a print that has like lines going not quite plaid, but yeah, more like an organic plaid, if you know what I mean. We've seen it in several shows, and it is quite similar to the tweed that Chanel is famous for. Sometimes it has more of structure of a plaid, but then sometimes it's just not really understanding what it is. Here is the more of an artistic version of what I'm trying to say. And yeah, here we go. Nice transition into plaids. Plaid for fall is like a floral for spring. Honestly, yes, it's here. Where else would it be? If you're thinking of plaid and maybe it's a little bit overworn for you, try pairing it with something a little bit more dramatic, maybe something that you wouldn't think that it would go with. Another point of seeing what colors they were matched with. The previous week I released a video about the color combinations, so think about how can you color combine with that plaid in order to make it a little bit more fresh, a little bit more interesting. We also seen several accessories in plaid. In Burberry, they had plaid boots and a plaid bag, which is pretty cool. And it is, of course, in their style DNAs to have that, so that's completely fine. Here is the Chanel example of more structured plaid in the tweed format. You can clearly see the lines. Miu Miu was also a fan of plaid. They used in more 70s feel of the colors, very muted and really interesting looking together. Ralph Lauren had more of the grays and browns together, as well as diesel, looking a little bit more modern here. Schiaparelli, oh my gosh, I love these. And they don't have much of a contrast, so when you're wearing them out and about, it's not as visible, but then when you come and examine closer, you can still see it. So yes, pin plaid, tatter shawl, like something that's really delicate, which is in suiting for sure.
Most of these patterns were created through the use of weaving threads of different colors together. That is mostly how the more heavier prints are done, especially in the outerwear and the blazers and etc. However, this design could still be printed on garments like t-shirts and more lighter fabrics to achieve the same pattern.
We've seen some diamond work in Balmain and Valentino, a little bit on a medium to large scale here.
In Louis Vuitton, we've seen a lot of tartan, or more like a gingham check, something that we'd expect to see at a picnic as a blanket format, sometimes exaggerated via size to make a statement.
Stripes is another neutral when it comes to prints. You can see here they were used in a variety of ways, sometimes on sheer, sometimes on blouses, sometimes just a little scarf, sometimes they were completely full on gowns. When choosing a stripe, think about where you want to place it on your body and which way it's going to face. If it is a vertical line, it will elongate you, create some more visual length on you, especially if completely from top to bottom. If you're going for more of an accentuating a certain body part, like for instance, you want to stabilize your proportions and you have a smaller top than your bottom, then having horizontal lines on the top will widen you visually and create that silhouette or a balance to your figure. Same goes for the bottoms. If you're more of top heavy and you want to create more volume on your hips, then placing horizontal lines there would work. Another way of elongating yourself without too much of that is diagonal lines as well, which work really great, especially if you feel like you have some asymmetry in your body, then they will mask it wonderfully.
But if you already have something that is horizontal and you don't want to attract that attention to that part of the body, layering it with a blazer or a jacket will be great.
We also seen Off-White using elements of stripes in their garments, either along the legs or maybe as details around the wrists and the collars and the waist. Sometimes there were more of a woven, a stripe situation. Ganni had a little cap, which was so cute. We had Fendi having leather and furs in lines. I feel like these are incredibly difficult to make, but here we are. And of course the pinstripe is everywhere with the full office siren situation happening. We see it in so many different shows, mostly on grays. There is some interesting ones from Zimmermann here on a more of a milky white, but yeah, a gray pinstripe is a no-brainer. It's something that will never go out of style.
And because of the looser silhouettes still being popular, my favorite place to find these are the men's section at a thrift store.
I wanted to mention Houndtooth, but basically there was only one show that dove into it, but they dove into it hard, and it was Diesel, and it was a more distressed than anything. So it was a base to the pattern, and then it was either ripped apart or maybe it was partially there. Maybe it was made on top of something interesting, like here. Is it woven through that plastic coat? I don't know, but it looks really cool, really incredible, and I really enjoyed the use of it here. However, there were absolutely no other shows that used it. Anyways, you guys, as we took a look at all of the prints, here are some ways that you can wear them together. Wearing prints together, I feel like it's such a statement, but sometimes it might be a little bit scary and a little bit overpowering. Just take a look at Dress Van Noten. They use so many different prints, but the reason they don't look too out of place is because they're in the same darkness zone. They don't have that much of a contrast. They're all either a little bit more muted jewel tones or a little more of the same color story throughout. We see here florals and plaid, or polka dot and plaid combined together, but they have the same color story, so it is not as powerful. So you can see both of them have a base color that's matching. We have the bag plaid and the dress polka dot. We see different polka dots in here in Fendi with some lines. More minimalistic plaid blazers with argyle sweaters. We see once again the two subtle different prints matched. You can match pretty much any print with any print. Here I've have several examples of the print itself being mixed inside a single garment. So maybe lines and some florals, or it could be the architectural elements with the lines. Here we see Dolce & Gabbana animal print bottoms and a graphic tee. Etro had lots of the pairing of different prints like stripes and more of the paisley print, plaid and the paisley print. Basically everything was matched with a paisley print. Right now I'm wearing animalistic, what is this, reptile snake print with a more of that Tro-esque vibes of the paisley print. I love it. So this is an organic and organic. You can always pair non-organic with organic print. What I mean by non-organic is stripes, plaid, anything that has sharpness to it. Here you can see the florals and the zebra print being together, as well as the small little plaid. We also see here, once again, the same combination without plaid. Here we see the striped and the floral pants. Again, okay, why am I just saying out loud what you already see? Anyways, so mixing patterns is fun, but it could be tricky. Think about the colors that are dominating those two items that you want to pair together. If they pair maybe they're contrasting colors, maybe they're analogous colors, maybe they are monochromatic colors but a difference in their lightness or darkness, then that can work as well. Here in Roberta Cavalli we have animal prints with other prints and they're really fun and cool. Valentino here paired the animal print, floral, and polka dot, all 3 in 1. But pairing prints usually goes along with more of an eclectic style, maybe bohemian style. It depends on your preference of the style and which patterns work better with it. For instance, more of a punk version would be plaid, maybe some animal prints, but nothing super romantic unless you're pairing it with some dramatic accessories. Here in Valentino, we see a single print having lots of very different prints inside it, like the animal print, more of a scarf print, a little bit more of like lines and etc. So there was lots of it on the runways, and I love the Versace coats with that scarf lining. Those are such cool pieces when you're walking. It could be just a black coat, but inside so much power, so much energy, and I just love it. We see those scrolls that I was talking about from the architectural designs, more ethereal, more fancy. The color combinations are amazing. If you do have a really crazy pattern with lots of different colors, it's so easy to style it in so many different ways because you can just choose a single color from that pattern and have that match, for instance, the bottoms, right? In this scarf, I have the dark green, I have purple, I have this mustardy yellow, I have a more brighter green, I even have mint here as well, or a turquoise color. So I could wear this with so many different colors and they will look great by picking up that color and working together. Scarves are a great addition of trying to start to wear patterns and prints. It's just an accessory. If you don't like it, you can take it off throughout the day. It's not going to ruin anything. If you'd like to learn more about the mixing of prints or how to start wearing it, I encourage you to check out this video. It's going to be linked somewhere here. It's great for anyone from the beginner to more advanced styling. Anyways, you guys, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate for you to sticking out here to the end. Make sure to leave your favorite print in the comments down below. That way I'll know that you watched to the end. Another way of supporting me would be by liking this video and maybe even sharing it with somebody that you know would love this. Maybe you have a pattern fanatic. I'm not one to wear lots of patterns, but when I do go crazy with them. If you want to see how I dress from day to day, I encourage you to check out my Instagram page where I try to share my daily outfits. I don't really have lots to go out to recently, so sometimes it's slower, sometimes it's every day. There will be lots of content about backstage of creative photo shoots, runway shows, just my personal outfits, and some tips and tricks whenever I have the chance. But other than that, I hope you have an amazing rest of the day, and yeah, stay classy. Bye.